Welcome back to Scared in the Name of Science. This is our final episode of our season on fairies, and I can't wait for you to dig into what we've discovered this season and this episode. Today's investigation is on Llanmelin Hill Fort, and if you've been listening to this season, you should know why we decided to investigate this place. I will explain in a little bit as to her reasoning for taking us to this place, but after we visited, I decided to have a little dig and see what I could find to see if there is any evidence that could suggest why it might be linked to fairies. Llanmelin Hill Fort has a rich history, but the details of which are still a little left to the mists of time. There has been some archaeological digs there, but mostly a lot of what we think is conjecture. There are a few clear facts though, so let's dive into those. Llanmelin Hill Fort was established around 2,300 years ago, in the 3rd century BCE, and it was abandoned around 75 CE. The surviving earthworks point to a settlement with 3 distinct features: a main camp, an adjacent annex with a series of rectangular enclosures, and an outpost in a woodland about 275 yards away. That's 250 metres if you don't know yards. Various archaeological items have been found at the site, including post holes of roundhouses, animal bones such as pig, goat or sheep and cow, as well as red deer, pottery, copper smelting waste, human remains, and a nail cleaner. And the nail cleaner is quite important. I'll explain why in a bit. The hill fort was abandoned around the same time as the establishment of the nearby Roman town of Caerwent, which is known as the market town of the Silurs. The Silurs are thought to have been the inhabitants of Llanmelin Hill Fort, but this is not confirmed. It has been suggested that Llanmelin may have been the seat of Camelot for King Arthur as well, and Llanmelin was also known as Llanageli, or church/enclosure of the grove. The rest of the stories around Llanmelin are myth, theory, and intrigue, but I can't wait to get into them, so let's go. It is thought that a strong Iron Age tribe called the Silurs or the Silurians may have inhabited Llanmelin during the Iron Age. Some researchers have suggested that it was the tribal capital for the Silurians, but others suggest that it might not have been large enough for this. Having been there myself, it's a sizable encampment, so I can imagine it being very important during its day. The Silurs or the Silurians were one of the dominating tribes in Wales throughout the Iron Age and into the Roman period. There are a few pieces of evidence which suggest it was inhabited by the Silurians. Firstly, it was the centre of their territory, geographically speaking, which spanned from the Monmouthshire border with England across the Banau Brycheiniog and over to Pembrokeshire. Of course, Monmouthshire, Pembrokeshire and even England didn't exist back then, but that should give you a rough idea. Silurian deity worship has also been discovered in Caerwent, suggesting that, as was the norm for the conquered people, the local deities were amalgamated with the Roman ones. The Silurian god Ocelos was linked with Mars, as both were considered gods of war. Reference to Ocelos are only found in one other place across the entirety of the UK, which is randomly Carlisle, but they're not found anywhere else in the world. However, there are also statues which show a mother goddess with an open mouth, potentially suggesting that she was listening to the prayers of her worshippers. These statues have also been considered to be linked to the environment of which the people found themselves in, and may have been an early form of worship of the land. It has been suggested that the annex developed in Llanmelin in 50 BCE was potentially linked to funerary practices due to the discovery of 2 bodies buried there, the only human remains found on the entire site. On this, there are 2 theories that could come up. The Silurian tribe were known to have 5 different classes within their societies: kings and queens, who were usually buried with chariots and beautiful pieces of art; elite members of society, which would have included bards and druids, for example; warriors, who were buried with swords and weapons; common people, who were buried with household items such as polished bronze mirrors; or slaves, thought mainly to be the indigenous people whom the Celts subjugated. Could these 2 individuals that were found have been the king and queen of the tribe and buried here without goods due to their murder by the Romans? This could have been part of the reason why the Silurians were so happy to move from Llanmelin to Caerwent. Alternatively, it could be suggested that the 2 bodies were actually enemies of those living at Llanmelin. Celts would decapitate their defeated enemies, as they believed that to possess the head, they possessed the soul of that person, and they would display the heads as trophies. The female body of this pair was missing her head. Either way, the archaeological evidence suggests that this was a significant site of worship, as a nail cleaner was discovered at the site, and is the only example of this item found at a hill fort. Nail cleaners were often suggested to be very important domestically, but also something that only people of high status would have had. It could also suggest cult activity, as bone disc nail cleaners are predominantly found at sanctuary sites across Celtic Britain. All of this suggests that the site was significant to whoever lived there at the time. But how does all this link to fairies? Isn't that what this season is about? Well, the links are tenuous. We know from previous episodes that hill forts are often considered to be taken over by fairies once the people living there have moved on and abandoned the site. And the potential cult worship activity could suggest that the magical energy built up there attracted any local fairies. There is also evidence of copper smelting at Llanmelin, so could there have been some connection to the Welsh Coblynau? These are considered similar to knockers and are incredibly hard-working creatures who are supposed to be heard in or nearby mines. The sounds of picks, wheelbarrows and the fall of stones is considered all to be caused by the Coblynau. They are described as being about 18 inches high with large heads and the faces of old men. Could these creatures now inhabit Llanmelin, drawn by the historic copper smelting at the site? Furthermore, it is also highly likely that there would have been druids at this site if it was culturally or spiritually significant, and we know that druids were key when it came to rallying the people to fight against the Romans. One of the theories that has cropped up in a couple places that we found is that fairies are the ghosts of druids. Druids were supposed to have a significant connection to spirits from other worlds, and therefore would have been highly connected to any portals or entrances or ways to connect with the fairies. In turn, the fairies would therefore likely know Llanmelin as a site of connection with these mystical interpreters. Finally, there is a connection between the site and the Mabinogion. When the Silurians put up their tremendous fight against the Romans, they were led by a king of their times, Caractacus. Caractacus led the British resistance against the Roman invasion in 43 to 47 CE, but was eventually defeated. He withdrew to South Wales, where he rallied the Silurians to fight against the next wave of invaders. Unfortunately, he was defeated in 50 CE against Ostorius Scapula. Caractacus, however, is also a figure in the mythos of the Mabinogion. The Mabinogion is based upon a 14th century manuscript known as the Red Book of Hergest. The work is a collection of 11 tales of early Welsh literature and draws upon the mystical world of the Celtic people, intertwining myths, folklore, tradition and history. These tales are thought to have a much more ancient provenance, being passed down through the generations by word of mouth by the early Welsh bards, a type of people that could have been at Llanmelin. Caractacus appears in these stories as the character of Caradoc or Caradog at Bran. The story in the Mabinogion mimics real life as well. Caractacus lost the battle in 50 CE and escaped to Yorkshire, where he was given over to the Romans. He lived the rest of his life in Rome, and Caradoc, likewise, is betrayed by a rival for the throne of Britain and given over to his enemies. Is art imitating life here? Probably. The Celts probably passed down this story through their people, with certain aspects being anonymised, misinterpreted and embellished. Although the connections here are woolly, it was clear that the site would be something special to sit and behold. But I'm going to leave it to Al to explain her reasoning for why we did an explanation there. So, we're trying to get to Llanmelin Hill Fort, and it's in the middle of that forest. We've come all this way thinking that is the path, and so far there are no entrances into the forest, and all we've got for our trouble is stinging nettled. Not, well, and Al found a stick. Not the best thing yet, but I will say this definitely looks like a UFO field if there was going to be a UFO. Do you not think?
What was that sign?
Do you not think this looks like a field for a UFO?
Yeah, it does. You can tell.
Yeah. Oh, and there's like a little hole through there for some animals. Anyway, we're going to try and get out and find a different way to the forest, but we'll see how we go. Moral of the story, it's not that path, it's this one. Well, that was so much easier. All that nettling for nothing. I will say this is a really gorgeous forest.
Yeah, stunning actually. It's very out of the way.
Al is currently bandaging himself up from getting nettled finding this place.
It's a little bit off the beaten path.
Well, the first attempt to find it was.
Okie dokie. And I've now sterilised the wound.
You ready?
The teeny tiniest of scratches.
Okay.
Hey guys, we're currently stood in the woods, which is a massive improvement from being stood in that field over that little wall fence, which is where we were initially because we couldn't find this path. But we are on our way to Llanmelin Hill Fort.
Mm-hmm.
So
Got your stick back.
I'll have my stick. Thank you. I think everyone in the audience will enjoy as well. It's been very good at beating nettles so far. So a little bit about Llanmelin Fort is that there was an Iron Age or late Bronze Age hill fort, and the kind of occupants actually became Romanized, which is why it's abandoned. They just kind of, when the Romans came, hill forts fell out of fashion.
Yes.
But hill forts weren't just, well, what they sound like hill forts. They were people like lived there. They were like centers of trade. It was kind of.
There were also like battalions stationed there and stuff, weren't there?
Yeah, exactly. There was. They've done some archaeological kind of discoveries around this particular one, and they found lots of pottery fragments, carved bone, antlers from red deer and such. Oh, sorry.
You're fine, thank you.
Just about whipped you. So yeah, that's pretty much the kind of background of it. In some of the research Rox and I have done, fairies are supposed to be more kind of linked to hill forts and burial mounds. So we thought that this would be the most appropriate place for our investigation. Rox has found something interesting.
A crushed snail shell.
Not that interesting.
Hey, look, the fairies might use it for like hats. I don't know. It depends on what kind of fairies there are around.
It's very true. So, Rox, would you agree that fairies have had a bit of a connection with hill forts and burial mounds?
Yeah, so I had a little look into it, and it looks like it comes from like Irish traditions,
Mm-hmm.
where they would find these old Iron Age hill forts that had lots of archaeological evidence in them, but because they didn't understand it, they would associate it with the little folk there, fairies essentially, and they became known as fairy forts. Oh, hello, Mr. Butterfly. And that's why that whole thing about fairies and Iron Age forts came about, is because the Irish thought they were linked to fairies, because they didn't understand why there was just abandoned like pottery and bits of wood and clearly worked materials in these walled places. Oh, these trees are so cool.
They are quite. That's pretty much what I've heard as well. You might not know it because of the time this video comes out, but we're actually here on the summer solstice. We plan to go up to the hill fort.
Or try
to find a nearby standing stone. And we're going to have a little investigation.
We've got some offerings to give, which we hope the fairies will accept.
Yeah.
I've got a little story to read them. You've got eggs from your lovely chickens.
Yes, I have brought my chicken eggs. This is taking me back to my cricket hunting days. You see these lovely ones? And look at that handsome fella. Interesting discovery.
Okay, it doesn't look like it's a fairy ring. Just a patch
of beautiful mushrooms.
Yeah.
I wish I knew more about mushroom IDing, because low-key want to eat these. I'm not going to. Oh wow, good spot, Rox. Look at these. And these.
There's a really cute one nestled back there as well. It's got like an orange head.
And this one. Oh, and this one. If we remember what I was saying about our fairy rings episode, we know that mushrooms aren't really anything at all to fear. Rox is looking at me in disbelief. However,
I mean, they weren't the red-topped ones, so, you know.
very true. But they were still very nice to find, and I think a bit of a good omen for our explanation.
Okay, so we are here. We're going over the sty. Oh God, I am not outdoorsy enough for this. I'm about books and cold, dark places at night where I can sit around. Oh wow.
Well, I'd say this looks like we're getting pretty damn close.
Crickets and butterflies.
Good signs. Signs of life. Not signs of fairies, just saying good ecological signs. Looks healthy. Look, all the pretty wildflowers. Oh, some beautiful purple ones up there. And here we are.
Llanmelin is an Iron Age hill fort, but could it also be a burial place, a town, or perhaps a castle of our greatest mythical king?
No! One mention without. One.
We've done so well. Llanmelin's function is as hidden today as its size from this viewpoint. Which, you know, that's fair. This is just some lumps. It covers an area of about 6 football pitches, although the original main camp was only half as big. The mystery persists, so why not Camelot? Some say it could be a contender for the mythical court of King Arthur.
That's interesting. It's a damn shame that we're having more Arthurian legend, though. Can we not just have a nice hill fort?
But it makes sense because the myths and legends of King Arthur are so intrinsically tied to like the Roman occupation of this area.
Yeah.
Which Cillian was one of the major camps in the area, and we're not too far away from Cillian actually.
Are we not?
No, not at all. About half an hour, less than.
Oh, I think these are some alpine strawberries.
Oh wow! Wild strawberries. They're so sweet as well. If we hadn't just seen a dog walker, I would be picking them to eat.
Yeah, 100%. I try not to eat forest things directly off the ground,
Yeah.
but there's some more here.
There's some more over there as well.
Do you know what? It's been a very long time since I've seen wild strawberries. But isn't it beautiful?
It's stunning.
God, what a sight. So I think we're actually in Hill Fort now.
Yeah. So we've just passed through what would be the fortified entrance, and we're heading into what would be the main encampment now. There's so many crickets. I feel like it almost feels like plague kind of vibes, but not, if that makes sense.
To me, it sounds like childhood summers.
Ah.
You know, when you're growing up and you're just kind of trying to catch crickets and everything seems endless and nostalgic.
Not so much, because most of my childhood was spent trying to catch seals in the sea.
Oh, fair. I spent huge amounts of times in beautiful fields and meadows chasing after crickets with my brother. I mean, fairies or not, it's a pretty magical experience so far.
This is a place where people have been coming for over 2,000 years.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, the different grass.
Yes.
To be fair, though, that could be where one of the roundhouses is located, and that's why the grass is different, because the depth are different.
100%. I wasn't saying it was fairies, but I know how much you love. I know how much you love your rings, and this is very ring shaped. And as we know, fairy rings are not just mushrooms.
You know, I thought you were going to be so impressed by the fact I was like, no, wait, science.
I am impressed.
It's a completely different colour to the rest of the grass in the area.
Yeah.
Like, completely.
When it came to setting up the ritual to summon fairies, I knew there was going to be a couple of steps that we needed to take before we did anything else. The first step we had to do was cast a circle of protection. Both myself and Al, regardless of how we personally feel about fairies, didn't want to take anything home that might be negative or not what we wanted. At the end of everything, I also closed that circle down, thanked any fairies who did take part in the ritual, and asked them to stay where they were rather than following us home. For the actual ritual to welcome fairies to the circle, I relied on Mara Starling's book Welsh Fairies, and adapted one of the rituals in that to better suit our purposes. We left some offerings to the fairies of bread that Al had baked, of fresh eggs from Al's hens, and of some honey as well. my offering, I read a story to the fairies and left the book there so they could have a flick through and see about the story themselves if they wanted to. Now, unfortunately, as we were setting up this circle and the ritual, the microphone that we had been using snapped, which meant that we could not record any more audio on that microphone. That means that the audio we had of the ritual once we'd left it, there was none. Not a thing at all. But there is still the footage, so you can have a watch of that and see what you think in the meantime.
Seagulls. It's not children, it's seagulls. Yeah, seagulls.
They're clearly going for something.
And they've probably been watching us. Did you hear that? Almost like a scream.
I think seagulls.
I really hope seagulls. You heard it, right?
I'm hearing noise, yeah.
Okay, there is nothing down here. There's no people here. We've got to go back. We've got to go see. Are you leaving breadcrumbs?
Mm-hmm. That was bread. Maybe they're in the woods.
Maybe.
Well, I said I saw some figures crouching and then gone.
Okay, if they're in the woods, we're going out that way anyway. Not unless there are any other paths, but... Okay, let's work our way around.
Not that I'm a believer in fairies, but you know, I think if there was any part of the world where fairies would be, I think it would be here.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, you know, some of my cynicism from aging has been peeled back because this feels like a childhood summer to me. But there's something almost eternal summer about this place. I don't know if it's the wildflowers or the insects, populations of which I haven't seen this active in a very long time. And, you know, I'm quite an outdoorsy person. I still spend quite a bit of time in the outdoors. But I've just never seen something quite like this in a very long time.
I wonder if part of that too is we talked about really early in the season about they appear to children a lot because of their innocence.
Mm.
And I think it's so interesting that you're saying this is taking you right back to your childhood, and it's giving you that sense of like, if there was anywhere.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's just a sense I'm guessing. If there was anywhere, it would be here in this beautiful, quiet field with all these lovely flowers and active insects and warm breeze.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It doesn't even feel too hot.
No.
Wait, where did we come from? Where's the path gone? I can see the like fortification entrance.
Yeah, that's where we came from, but there was a path over to the tree.
We definitely had a path.
Good thing I'm tall and I can trample well.
I'm short.
Then stand behind me as I trample through.
Okay, you've got the bushwhacking stick too.
I do also have the bushwhacking stick. Though if this is Fey territory like you think it may be, I do not wish to upset them. I found a path.
Oh, good. I think there is another path, to be fair, onto this.
Yeah.
The other path is very steep, but
I'm fairly confident as children. It's just some interesting timing, that's all.
I saw a frond of that plant. I'm scared to do like that. There must be people on another path. It must be.
Yeah.
But
cool timing.
yeah, it's the drumming for me that freaks me out.
Yeah, we are hearing snippets of
Singing, chanting, drumming from this area.
Yeah. To be fair, it's the summer solstice.
Yeah. The site is 2,000 years old and there has been skeletons found here.
Oh, I'm not saying it's haunted, I'm saying that other people could be having religious ceremonies.
True.
Our minds went very different places. There's a turn. Not fancying the turnstile. Thank you. Interesting.
What? Whoa, there was one feather here before. One.
Well, we heard the seagulls fighting earlier.
Not here.
No, we heard squawking though.
On the other side of the monument. To be fair though, we went that direction, we didn't come directly here.
Yeah.
And we did spot a feather further up. So is that feather still there?
Yep, there it is.
There we go, so we just were observant. So we made it out of Llanmelin Hill Fort. I'm very glad we managed to make it out alive and without being abducted by fairies.
There's a little part of you that wishes you were abducted by fairies.
Absolutely. But I'm happy to report it is still the 21st of June 2025 according to the car.
Excellent.
But we have been out here for like 2 and a bit hours.
Yeah, which I really wasn't expecting, to be honest.
No, me neither. This is... I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty good at knowing where I'm going, right? Like retracing my steps and stuff. But every time I was retracing my steps, I felt like, hang on, this should be closer. Wait, we're further away than I thought we were. What's going on here? It just didn't quite feel as solid as like normal.
Yeah, the paths, they were quite hard to find to begin with, and they were even harder to hold on to once you were on them.
And we said this as we were walking along, but it felt like there were so many tricks to try and stop you getting there in a way.
Yeah, it was tricky to find. It was tricky to drive to. We got lost multiple times on the drive here.
We ended up at a army training base. The initial turn off said no parking, so we went past the actual parking site for it.
Yeah.
And the sign for it is pointing in the complete wrong direction.
Yeah. So it was a tricky thing to find. And then when we actually got here and parked up, we walked up and ended up in a field because the turning was
completely hidden.
Teeny tiny, like it was just not.
Yeah.
It looked like the lesser travelled path, so it wasn't the path we took.
Yeah, we took a more well-took path.
So we got lost there, and we stayed on it for a while, to be fair, once we were getting going. There was lots of mushrooms and feathers along the way.
Lots of really cool trees and branches and stuff like that. There was lots of really interesting, like, vines that had twisted themselves into fun shapes.
Yeah.
But I think the most interesting thing was as we were leaving, and I'm still quite confused.
Yeah, we did hear, like, children.
Yeah.
Which was really interesting because
we're quite out of the way here.
Yeah, we are quite out of the way. Of course, you know, children love exploring woods and stuff, so it probably is children. It's just an interesting place for children to be.
Yeah.
Especially because we couldn't actually see the little...
No, not at all.
We even went back to see if they'd come out. And,
because we could hear talking and whispering and giggling and laughing.
I just had, like, children shouting and playing and stuff.
Yeah.
So
for me, I think one of the most interesting things was hearing the drumming. The rhythmic drumming.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Bits and pieces. It was like noise and stuff. I think maybe it is for some assaults. Yeah. And we were up for semi-ritualistic purposes.
True.
It's very possible that other people were as well.
True.
There was definitely some sort of gathering going on that we couldn't see.
Yeah. Definitely something.
There was something going on that we couldn't see.
I don't know whether it was because the sound was carrying through the valley.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to look at maybe from the scientific point of view of how sound travels acoustically.
I will say though, we were very much in the centre of the hill fort, which meant that we couldn't really see very clearly over the bounds of the hill fort and also the woods on the other side. So it is most likely children more than anything else.
But at the same time, the direction which we heard the drumming coming from was the way we came in and out of that place, and there's only one path in and out that direction. From online resources, it does say there is a secondary path on the other side of where we were, but the drumming sounded like it came from our side and there was only one path. And we've just come back off there. There's nothing here.
There's no other cars parked here as well.
And we've not seen any other people apart from one dog walker who we saw coming in.
We saw him park, yeah. I will say the only thing here really is a farm.
Yeah.
There are some houses kind of dotted along, so children, if they live in these houses, could walk up here. So
true.
But yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that we've done a ritual asking for fairies, and then we've heard childish sounding giggling and laughing afterwards and talking, and music, which are key fairy signs, as well as this impression of lost times or trickster paths, all stuff which is like known fairy shenanigans. Yeah. And some of your tech broke.
Yeah, that is right. Microphone dongle snapped.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to continue using my mics. It was really cool being up there. Some really interesting kind of coincidences going on.
You're cut up like anything.
Yeah, I've been absolutely shredded. I've just had to pour hand sanitizer down my legs and bite back some whales.
Yeah. Whereas I've got a little bit on my feet, but I'm pretty good. Coincidence?
Believer's fine, non-believer gets shredded. Probably because I'm wearing quite short shorts.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah. I didn't fully anticipate quite how concealed the path was.
Yeah. I don't think we expected the fields of nettles.
No, and to be honest, we shouldn't have been on the fields of nettles. That was a fun bonus.
Very satisfied with this one. Very intrigued.
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience. I just had a bit of fun being out and about in the nice weather.
Yeah, it was nice to go out for a walk with you again. We've not done it in a while.
Yeah, it was nice to just kind of hang out, to be honest. But kids, which I'm like, 99% sure. But I didn't physically see them, so there's that 1% of not being able to physically see them.
So that's it for season 2 of Scared in the Name of Science, Fairies. Myself and Al both really hope that you've enjoyed this season, and we've really enjoyed researching it too. If you have any experiences with fairies, please get in touch with us. We're available for contact on Threads, Instagram, Reddit, but of course also on YouTube and Spotify where our episodes are posted. This has been a super intriguing season, but I can't wait to get started for the next one, which, the great reveal, Season 3 of Scared in the Name of Science will be back next August, and Season 3